Well, hello and welcome. I thought 30,000 subscribers was worth a new welcome clip for my channel. So you're very, very welcome. My name's Georgie Newbury. I'm a flower farmer and florist based here in sunny Somerset between fashionable Bruton and up and coming Wincanton. And my channel is all about encouraging other people to grow flowers, cut flowers, arrange flowers, to dare step into their futures and start running the dream business they've been talking about, to be more creative and more challenge themselves more with their social media. I'm a small scale flower farmer running a lifestyle business in the countryside in England, and if I can encourage other people to do similar work, to run a lifestyle business that suits them, to find their enough, then I will consider myself as winning. So come along. It's always fun, very matter of fact, low tech, straightforward, and hopefully interesting. You're very welcome. And if you're new to the channel, you're very welcome. Please do subscribe, press the bell icon, and we'll tell you when we've got more clips coming up. And if any of the tips and tricks are useful along the way, you can always buy me a coffee, or better still, join my club. And the link to coffee buying and club membership are in the blurb to all my clips. And do like and make a comment, because this is the only channel where I answer all my comments, largely because they're so easy to find. So thank you, YouTube. You make it easy for me to find the comments that people make and reply to them all at once. Anyway, let's go and have a tour around the field, and I'll tell you a bit more about me and what we get up to here at Common Farm in Somerset. So this is outside my studio door. A lot of seedlings waiting. It's been so wet that we've not been planting out, but also I've got a plant sale about which I will tell you more. On the 11th of May, we raised money for our local gardening charity in Wincanton. But meanwhile, everything is just waiting for the weather to dry. So off we go, pulling my trolley. Behind me is the my current studio, but I'm moving. Ahead is my new studio, where I haven't quite moved yet because we can't flush the lavatory yet. We're getting there. And these beds are in a patch called the Pitch by Yard. And these are all mostly annuals, mostly plants that will only stay in the ground for a short while, up to a year. And they've been slowly mulched. But we're very late because it's been such wet weather. We've been slowed down by the wet. And here is my Heath Robinson watering system, which, as you can see, has not been put up yet. Getting there. So, not much in flower here yet, but there are tulips. So let's have some tulips for our arrangement. And the work I did today was very pale and interesting, like the piece that I showed you at the beginning that I had on the side, all pale cream colours. I personally love really bright colours. So since I'm making this piece especially for YouTube, hurrah, we can have any colour we like. So let's go really bright. I pull my tulip so I get the whole tulip, like this. It's windy. There's not much else to cut here apart from the tulips. But this is where all those seedlings I just showed you will be planted, or most of them. So here are the polytunnels, 2 polytunnels, and a lot of mud. It's been very wet. This patch is called the piggery. Let's go inside the polytunnels and see what we can see. So here's the first tunnel. This is where I keep my mower. Covered up so it doesn't get wet when I water. Nice crop of white honesty here. And the sweet peas are galloping along We are early April, beg your pardon, and they are way ahead of where they were this time last year. And here are the next lot of seedlings just germinating. So this is crop 3. Crop 2 were the ones you saw outside there we are, outside the back door of the studio. That was crop 2. This is crop 3. Here they come. Ping, ping, ping. Every day I come and there are a few more. And I say they're crop 3 and the ones outside the back door are crop 2 because here's crop 1. And actually there are fewer annuals here than there have been in the past. I've been experimenting with biennials in here and they're doing really, really nicely. And for our purposes now, let's have some of this lovely purple. I love this colour. Purple Honesty. I grow Honesty for its gorgeous paniculata shape now, but also for the seed heads for work in the winter. The amazing scent in here is coming from these wallflowers. Vulcan, delicious. I mean, they smell like honey. And I will never grow wallflowers outside again. And you can see how there's a little crop of Sweet William about to pop there, which is great for April. Sweet Rocket, and then foxgloves. Various bits and pieces along the way. And here are the first of the ranunculus. So we'll have some of them. These were sprouted in November. And then we have the next succession running a bit behind. Ideally I have them for May. Here are the Narcissi beds. They have had a tough year. You can see the damage. I've never seen damage like it. It's slugs and pheasants. But, you know, we push. And then over here, this is a mix of perennials and underplanted with bulbs. It's a really successful bed. It's worked really well for years. These bulb here are bluebells, and then coming up behind them are my perennial phlox, which are one of my favourite crops of the year. I love them. But the reason I'm here now is these are Kassia, and they're way away from blooming, but if I cut them, nice long stems, they're really interesting in bouquets. I've got masses of them. They're really interesting bouquets, and they will flower in the bouquet. So it starts off as a spike of green and becomes a spike of blue. Over the fence here, we have a little orchard. It's known as the Jilly Orchard because my mum, Googie, whose name is Jilly, I know that sounds confusing. Anyway, Googie gave me the apple trees, gave us the fruit trees years and years ago. And you can just see coming up the snake's head fritillaries and cowslips, which we've slowly been establishing over the years. This becomes a really amazing meadow, but for the moment we have snake's head fritillaries, and which are the purple ones, and sometimes a white one there, and the yellow are cowslips that I grew from seed years and years ago, and they are slowly spreading themselves around the orchard. I always keep an eye as I go round on what I might be cropping in the next few weeks. Here is Viburnum opulus, the snowball bush, coming along. These become great big balls of white flowers. Not yet. Very good for cutting now, crabapple blossom. And because I like colour, I'm going to cut my dark red. This is just the most gorgeous colour leaf, and when the blossom pops, it's bright pink. More wildflower meadow, And this is where the excitement is really beginning to bubble up. Yes, there are more fritillaria, little purple people, but there are also, and I'm keeping an eye out, if we look, no such thing as a free lunch, you have to look. Aha, look, and do you see the spotty leaves? Here come the wild orchids. And Fabrizio puts little willow circles around the first one he sees, but quite soon there are too many. We see them everywhere, and they will be a swathe of purple spikes through the middle of the summer. Ooh, look, here in the Shady Bed, these are Telema grandiflora, which will in a week or two be tall spikes with white bells, beautiful for cutting. The peonies are looking well, not ready yet, but they're coming. And these are the seeds germinated of the bespoke kind of bee-friendly mix we ordered up from Higgledy Garden the other day. Coming up a treat. Lovely zingy foliage of the lilac here. Not ready to cut that. This is winter flowering honeysuckle. Excellent foliage. Last year's just falls off. And it makes really lovely, good yellow, yellowy green, very bright. Excellent foliage. So we'll have some of that. And the dark Physocarpus is just coming into leaf. The yellow has been flowering, has been in leaf for several weeks. I've been cutting it. But the dark is a bit slower. And this patch is mostly shrubs and perennials. When we came here, there were no trees. So those trees we planted, we've only been here 20 years. And we didn't plant that big oak. But anything closer than that, you can see, we planted in the last 20 years. It's amazing how tall trees can be. This is a Monterey pine, which by rights should not be growing so luxuriantly here in wet. Look at that. Very wet Somerset. So there's nothing much to cut up here yet, but I thought I'd bring you up here so you could see. Here's the yellow Physocarpus, have been in leaf for a while. And there's the new studio from the other way. We'll get there. I will move in. I will. In a couple of months, this striped grass will be really fantastic in posies and arrangements. It loses the pink. It isn't as, it's very pink now, but it won't be so pink. It's just green and white stripes, but it's really useful for cutting. It's a terrible bully, so only have it if you can contain it. And I grow allium purple sensation through it, and they're very happy. And more alliums colonizing the geums, but they're not killing each other off, so I'll let them do it. This is that lovely pale blue spring veronica, the gentian veronica, pale blue, and it'll flower in a few weeks. It's always really good in spring weddings. I love a bit of sanguisorba, very good dried as well as fresh. And this is Verbena hastata, it's a white. And I'm going to dig some of this up for my plant cell. You can see it's a bully. and it seeds itself everywhere. But it is great, really great for cutting. You see what I mean about the wet? This is why we have gutters along the side of our raised beds. It's somewhere for the water to go. And I just moved a bit of compost, and look, ants. Now these are a sign of a very, very healthy garden. They're a sign of a really good functioning ecosystem. Ants are useful, helpful, friendly people. Be not afraid of an ant in your patch. These here are Veronicastrum. They'll be as tall as me by late summer. Right, I think we've got enough. Let's go home, back to the studio, and make a big bunch of flowers for you. The Veronicas are looking happy. And do you remember that one pot of white geum that I got at the garden centre the other day and I sawed up? Well, here they are. They've grown. Oh, hold on a minute. There's some lovely foliage here. Let's have some of this hornbeam. Isn't that gorgeous? Right, here's a lovely mix, and I think it's about 55 stems. We often do a thing here on my channel, if you're new, and it's called the 30 stem challenge. I tend to do a bit more because I'm greedy and I have plenty of material, but what I like to do is to challenge people to go outside into their gardens at the weekend and see if they can find 30 stems that they could then make an arrangement for the house with. And people really enjoy it, I think. So, if you're new to the channel, do go outside this weekend and see, and if you're not new to the channel, show everybody else how to do it. Go and have a rootle around in your mid-April garden, see what you can find and make an arrangement. And then if you tag me on Instagram, where I'm at Common Farm Flowers, with your 30 stem challenge, I always share some of them on my stories because it's fun, and why not? So these are the beds outside the back door. They're not really particularly cutting beds, and I just want to show you these Fritillaria persica, which I have grown this year for the first time, and I love them. They were so expensive, the bulbs. I can't see that I'll ever do them as a commercial crop, but they have been giving me such pleasure for like a month. They're a bit wind bashed and wind weathered, but look, I mean, God. But what I am going to cut, because I remembered, is some of this euphorbia up here. I have a clump, so I'm going to cut some of that. This euphorbia, it has a caustic white sap. So be careful cutting it, because it can react with your skin, but it does cut really nicely. The riper the flower heads are, the less likely it is to flop in the vase. And this counts for all euphorbias. So I've just popped the euphorbia in the bucket with the tulips, and I'll just leave them there to stop the sap dripping. It stops fairly quickly. You can see it's dripping a sort of milky colour, and that'll stop in the next few minutes, and then I can use them in my arrangement. So we have this piece that I made earlier, and actually thinking about it, I think I'm going to make a companion piece. So I'm going to use the same vase. This is obviously all pale and interesting, but it's different, same idea but different. So we've got these lovely tulip, exotic emperor, white. This is white honesty. This is the Physocarpus darts gold, which I love so much at this time of year. And it's a really, really simple arrangement. Those are the only 3 ingredients. So simple colour, 3 ingredients. Large vase. Right, I'm going to make another one and see what you think. The hole in the middle of my desk here is, this used to belong to a man who made things out of wood, and he could have a plug, so he could plug into a piece of machinery. That's why it's got a hole. I've always wondered, but I found out the other day. So we're back in the studio, and I'm going to do what I often do. I'm going to make the arrangement. I'm going to put you on the speeded up bit of filming way, because otherwise we're here all afternoon, and it's 10 to 5 and you have a life. So I'm going to do it on the whizzy and then we'll have a look when I've finished. And I think it'll be interesting to see if we compare this more colourful arrangement that I'm going to make with more different ingredients to the more formal arrangement which I made with the white tulips, the white honesty, and the Physocarpus. They will both be very nice. It'll be really interesting to see what you think. And we personally love this colour, and I'm going to show it to you a bit closer. So last week I did this lovely piece. I went to visit my neighbour Rachel Ashwell, who's famous for shabby chic, inventing the brand that goes with such an incredibly iconic look. And her palette is really pale, kind of almost misty, and she's so strict with herself. It's really impressive to see. Do have a look back. She's really, really strict about the colours that she'll use, that she'll have in her house, that she works with. They are her palette. So it's quite fun for me to think about, if I had a palette, what would my palette be? And my palette is definitely a richer, more jewel colours, sometimes a bit more difficult to work with, and maybe, you know, I'm possibly more difficult to live with. But if I were to be a colourway, this would be my colourway, I think. And as the summer goes on, you'll see with my dahlias the colours heat up around me. So anyway, I'm going to put these 2 vasefuls together and then see which one you prefer. I'd love you to put a comment. So here's the colour. It's sort of, I find that if I'm painting, I kind of paint with my flowers. And so by adding in these paler Narcissi and the paler ranunculus, that does give it some point of view. You have to be really careful using dark reds in floristry, because in photographs they can look like just a black hole in the whole thing. But it's much easier in a film like this. You see the depth of colour much better. I think it's just the way that digital cameras work. Anyway, do be a little careful using very dark reds in arrangements. But yeah, that's definitely my colour. And although I've not got any of that yellow Physocarpus, the hornbeam and the winter flowering honeysuckle are giving me the spring zing that I need. And look, they're lovely euphorbia tucked in there and standing up at the back. So that's arrangement number 1. Do you like that one? Or about the same number of stems, but only 3 different ingredients. Very cool, classic, kind of smart London hotel, or maybe a really glamorous hairdresser, or a dress shop. That's what that makes me think of. I think it's very formal. And it is, I mean, it's lovely. It is, though I said myself, it is lovely. But I like, for me, I love the colour of this mix. These tulips are going to be a variety called brown sugar. Oops, where am I? Brown sugar. And when they come out, they're amazing orange, sort of literally like brown sugar, and they smell absolutely delicious. So there we are. That's what my garden is doing on this fine April day, April the 4th, 2024. I'd say at least 3 weeks ahead of this time last year when we had a very cold spring. So thank you very much for visiting. I hope you've had a nice time wandering around the farm with me. The weather is not lovely. It is not looking its best. It's not looking beautiful. But sometimes it does look absolutely stunning. But this is a working flower farm, so it's never very flowery to look at in the field. If it were, I wouldn't be selling my crop. But there is always material to make lovely arrangements with. I sell increasing amounts of my flowers as wholesale to other florists. And so I'm doing less and less floristry, but I'm going to keep doing the floristry for the YouTube, which, as well as my, private clients, occasional private clients. But I think it's fun to see what there is in the garden and see what you can do with it. So whether you are buying from a flower farmer near you, or you're cutting from your garden, have some fun with some seasonal flowers. Try a 30 stem challenge. Thanks very much for visiting, and I will see you very soon.